saying the quiet part out loud. Help is not coming. Over the past year, and particularly the past few months, an all-out assault has been launched against worker rights in the United States. It seems that the capital class is now saying the quiet part out loud. After seeing scattered news stories and anecdotes from friends and strangers, I decided to make an attempt at compiling these transgressions into one list. This list is by no means meant to be exhaustive. Just my lone voice shouting into the void. After a request from the CEO of Delta, the CDC cut isolation time in half for COVID-positive workers despite the fact that they are still contagious and could infect patients, co-workers and customers. As we all know, from restaurants to ICUs, managers will pressure employees to return to work even if it isn't safe. Also, the CDC guidelines for healthcare workers vary based on hospital staffing levels, with the crisis levels stating that healthcare workers can work COVID-positive, symptomatic, with 0 days quarantine. A Wisconsin hospital, ThedaCare, filed an injunction to keep nurses from leaving their at-will employment for better pay. Despite the nurses having given adequate notice, ThedaCare refused to make any counteroffer. Fortunately, the judge did rule against the injunction after an initial hearing. But the fact that the hospital felt comfortable even trying this in the courts shows we, as a nation, have crossed a dangerous line. Following the Wisconsin hospital's lead, BNSF filed suit to stop 17 K-workers from striking. Unlike Wisconsin, the judge ruled in favor of BNSF. A mayor in Idaho suggested that teachers and service industry workers live in tents in the park, rather than do anything to address soaring rent prices and stagnant wages in his town. A group of business owners bought billboards in an attempt to shame people into taking their low-paying jobs. In NY, they decided to have high schoolers drive ambulances instead of paying EMTs enough to not go hungry. Congress lowered the age to 18 for long-haul truck drivers instead of raising wages. To be clear, there is no shortage of drivers, just a shortage of companies willing to pay drivers enough to cover costs. As with many of these worker shortages across other industries, we are seeing the inevitable outcome of years of lean staffing and predatory hiring practices. Representatives introduced bills to allow teens to work longer hours during the school year, effectively eroding child labor laws, to help alleviate staffing issues at minimum wage jobs. The Democrat governor of Maine recently vetoed a bill that would allow farm workers to unionize. Workers are understandably hesitant to return to public-facing jobs like restaurant and retail, not just over fear of COVID, but due to the very real and ever-increasing threat of violence against service workers across the United States. School systems asked parents to volunteer amid teacher shortages. In New Mexico, the National Guard was brought in to work as substitute teachers rather than just closing schools or taking better COVID precautions. This echoes earlier in 2021 when the National Guard was deployed to drive school buses instead of raising wages. Police were brought in as substitute teachers, which seems like a parody of real life. So much so that South Park even predicted it. In Michigan, the governor presented a bill that would allow custodians and bus drivers to teach classes even though both custodians and bus drivers are already in short supply due to letting Omicron rip, and decades of lean staffing throughout the education system. Across the U.S., schools are being forced to resume in-person classes despite it not necessarily being safe for teachers or students. At this point, I can't help but think that the sole purpose of public education in the U.S. is to provide daycare in order to subsidize employers' labor costs. The Biden administration quietly let the child tax credit expire and, along with it, any sort of extended UI that would provide paid sick leave for workers contracting COVID. It's worth noting that without the provisions in place from previous relief bills, the most exposed professions such as restaurant and retail staff, as well as doctors and nurses, don't have paid sick leave for COVID and often can't afford to lose any income. Keep in mind that all this is happening while corporations are posting record high quarterly profits. Employers can absolutely afford to hire more staff and raise wages and still maintain profits at a pre-pandemic level. Corporate America keeps banging the drum of worker shortages, while enjoying the excess profits. From cutting labor costs with the hyper-lean staffing they seem to have become addicted to. Possibly the most heinous part of all this is a trend that anyone who has applied for jobs over the past 2 years should have noticed. There are many job listings, but the jobs aren't real. Even though the Biden administration believes there are plenty of unfilled jobs, there seems to be a reason employers aren't actually trying to fill the vacant roles. Yes, that's right. Hidden deep down in the legislation is a loophole that allows employers to keep their PPP loan because of an inability to hire similarly qualified employees for unfilled positions. Specifically H.R. 7010 Section B on forgiveness. Subsection 7 under determination. There's also the pesky detail that, while the payroll loans were meant to help keep workers in their existing positions, there are no provisions in the bill to stop employers from firing workers and replacing them with someone cheaper, or simply waiting for the clock to run out and firing them after. So yes, all those entry-level jobs you see posted requiring master's degrees? You might want to look up how much PPP money the company received. It probably won't come as much of a surprise to any of you that at least 88% of companies that were given PPP loans kept the funds instead of paying staff. We've been hung out to dry by our leaders and institutions that are supposed to exist to protect us. Help is not coming. We are on our own. Credit for contributors: U. Amelia Barelia. U. Undead Libido. U. Light Bulb Fragment. U. Sometimes Not Funny. U. Zestus 02. U. Task Manager 1000. U. Firemat 422. U. Ender 914. U. Brent 1123. U. Skittles 2PT0. U. Squirrel Unfair. U. Van Isle 7. U. Recent Dimension 221. U. Hello or 1D. U. Aki 9000. U. Agent Articuno. U. I Just Want to See Cats. U. September Girl 10. U. Pandabelle 12. U. Humble Inspector 9554. U. Oshkosh the Josh. U. Breda Gravelicious. Please comment or message me any related stories I have missed. Imagine having so much money and entitlement syndrome that you buy billboards to berate people who won't work for your shitty company, instead of paying market rates. I did the math and will keep telling everyone that we are being paid too little to exist. My work is worth $25 an hour according to my rent and bills. $30 an hour to actually go to the doctor. University spokesman Ben Johnson said Ohio State employs more than 15,000 student employees across its 6 campuses. Ohio State pays its student workers a range of base hourly wages, in line with the state raising its minimum wage 50 cents from $8.80 to $9.30 an hour on Jan. 1. The university raised wages for returning student workers by the same amount this year. Tipped employees earn $4.65 an hour. Most on-campus jobs pay anywhere between $9.30 to $13 an hour. 60 years ago, a college student who worked part-time during the school year and full-time during the summer at a minimum wage job could pay for tuition, fees and most of their room and board at a typical public four-year university, according to the Urban Institute. Today, that same amount of work at minimum wage covers just 57% of college tuition and fees and 27% of room and board and other expenses. https news.yahoo.com/ohio-state-workers-104336681.html. Help is not coming, so what do we do? Just wait till enough people get hungry enough to fight back and eat the rich? Imagine being so greedy and privileged that you, the company, spend millions of dollars on lawyers just because workers are rightfully demanding better conditions. This has always been the truth. There is no help on the way and things will only get worse. The same goes for climate change. This country is fucked. We are indeed under a stronger coordinated attack now than in the past. That backlash is to be expected as class consciousness rises and our previously weaker position gets stronger. We are not alone, we have each other. Thinking the government would help us make any significant progress has always been a fantasy. But they need us more than we need them. If we can build solidarity, focus on the real enemies rather than infighting, we have a chance at improving things. Real change will, however, require real revolution. This post deserves an upvote from every single member of this community and from people elsewhere that are sick of the tyranny. You, PM me all dogs. Thank you for compiling all of this information. It is people like you that should be at the forefront of this movement, helping to organize and spread truth about what is happening in the world regarding the treatment of workers and the lack of rights that they have been subjected to. I would love to see in-person meetings become a thing for the anti-work movement. As another Redditor said not long ago, this needs to move from the internet into real life if we are going to have any chance of changing the current state of affairs. How can we sit idly by while corporations whip us like slaves and offer no sympathy when we bleed? How can the common citizen not see the forest for the trees? The article linked to under "The Jobs Aren't Real" link needs to be made very public. https www.business-insider.com/worker-applied-to-60-jobs-got-1-shortage-2021-10. This made me so mad I called in sick. At this point, we might have to kill the economy before it kills us. Eventually more and more people will refuse to follow labor law. Lol at suing to stop a strike. Fucking clowns. Make this person a mod. Thanks for reposting this after all the drama. I recall seeing it a week or more ago. Keep up the good work. To reuse two quotes from Che because I think they're applicable here. I am not a liberator. Liberators do not exist, the people liberate themselves. The revolution is not an apple that falls when it is ripe. You have to make it fall. Help is not coming because we are the only ones that can help ourselves, and there is no point in waiting for it to come because we can choose to help ourselves at any time. We just need to organize and act together. Time for the pitchforks, folks. As the history of labor shows, we can only help ourselves by going on strike. It's the only way to improve working conditions and wages. Why we need to strike. Join our May Day strike. We make demands. And we strike till the demands are met. Added side bonus is a stay-at-home strike also acts as a shutdown and would likely help stop the spread of fucking COVID. Saved this one! Exclamation mark. Well done op.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.